Um, I'm wondering now if this is something that you kind of have to train yourself on as well, right?
Mm-mm.
If you're completely new to Marvel, you're not going to find that rhythm, right?
It'll be very difficult.
The music's going to sound very foreign and strange, and
Yeah.
you don't know where the notes are supposed to land, and the rhythms might be really odd. But once you understand the game's mechanics and how the assists work, and how there's kind of like a certain timing that you use the assists as well, and your opponent's going to use them. And I'm wondering if with 2XKO right now, we just haven't gotten that stride yet because the game is so new and
It's
we
a new
haven't played
game.
we haven't played it much. But I guess that also begs the question: are people going to be patient enough to kind of get into this rhythm and understand the rhythm and enjoy it? And I think this is kind of where kind of the analogy that you made with music. It's some of the more complex music. I listen to progressive rock and metal, which is like it's known for odd time signatures. Every measure might change the time signature.
Right.
But like if you listen to those bands like Rush or Dream Theater, you kind of start understanding what 7/8 sounds like, right? That's a time signature. Like most Western music is like 4/4. It's like
Yeah.
1 2 3
The very
4,
even
1 2
beats.
3 4, and then you have waltz, which is like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Yeah, and you have and those are kind of the two most common time signatures in Western music. But when you get to like a 2XKO or even a Marvel like game, I think this is where the rhythmic complexity can increase, because now you have tag fighters, and when you're blocking, it's not like if you play like Street Fighter or one character versus one character game. The block strings and stuff are kind of very basic in comparison. Of course, those games focus on different things, but like you said, I think with tag games, when you have so many hits going on, that there's a rhythmic component that you have to get used to, and I think that's going to be a higher curve for a lot of people. And if you look at like freestyle tagging and stuff, like none of us are like really experts in that yet. But imagine playing, somebody that's really good freestyle and knows these really sneaky high-low, left-right mix-up stuff.
Which had happened back in Alpha Lab 1, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can see like some of the stuff that Sean does is like disgusting, right? And so, and that stuff is super sick. But like, getting to the rhythm of that game. I mean, imagine how satisfying it must be to block successfully like a freestyle setup or something. I can imagine that being very satisfying. But then there's also like other defensive mechanics to deal with it. So I feel like 2XKO is a game that gives you a lot to work with, and I think because of that, to really kind of develop the playstyle that you're satisfied with is gonna take a while, because like you're gonna be like, well, I don't know, how much should I incorporate this, the get up reversal move?
Yeah.
How much should I push block? Or when should I push block? When should I use the one where I go backdashing? That costs meter.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to do, and defensively and offensively. Offensively, you can just have a party, right? And so all that stuff is amazing. But I'm wondering what the experience will be like for somebody learning it, because like, I mean, for us, we know that we played Alpha Lab 2 for a short period of time, but we know that like we haven't gotten the rhythm of the game yet. By playing
we just touching the surface.
But then how will new people that get into it, like how will they react to it? Because you can't like, I mean, because I listen to like progressive rock and like music with like weird time signatures and stuff. I've introduced this to people obviously throughout my life, and it's always like music's just too whack and weird for them, right? It's like too much shit going on.
It's similar in the fighting game community. Like, you try to like get people to play your favorite game, and then they'll be like, they don't like straight off say, oh, your game sucks, because they'll be rude. But then they try to be nice and say, oh, I'm not really into these kind of games. You know, it's a similar kind of concept, I guess.
Yeah, it is. But the thing is, like, if you had pop music, then a lot of people will get into it, right? They're just like, oh,
it's
yeah,
easy to
it's a good song. They'll hear it. It'll get played on the radio, and it's kind of more mainstream, right?
Yeah, it's like the Street Fighter of the music.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of more mainstream. It's the music's not doing anything terribly risky. I mean, some of these songs sound like the same song from like a decade ago, but like a new singer and a slightly different melody. Chord progression is the same. So this is why I made the analogy with 2XKO and Polyphia, because Polyphia is it's a progressive rock band. It comes from that roots of like Rush and Dream Theater and those bands. And yes, but at the same time, it's like the almost like the Gen Z version of that, right?
Right.
I think they might be just out of Gen Z, but they're very young.
Borderline.
Yeah, borderline. But then there's kind of like they've modernized a lot of their sound and everything to
Right.
kind of and so I feel 2XKO is kind of like that, and it still keeps that rhythmic complexity and the musical complexity, but it's like it's kind of a fresh take on it. And so I don't know how that's going to translate to a fighting game, but yeah, I think right now there's a lot of people that are, I have seen online and some people talking about how this game is. I don't want to say that it's not a misleading thing,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like they see no motion inputs, right? But then here's all this other stuff that you can do in the game, and they're like they can't wrap their heads around it right now, and they feel like, oh, this is almost like you had this impression that like, oh yeah, anyone can just kind of jump in, but then they're seeing all this other stuff and mechanics, and I think just what I'm kind of worried about is there's the phenomenon with a lot of these fighting games. We saw it with Dragon Ball FighterZ, DBFZ, where it's like people jump in the game, they're super excited about it. It has this cool IP, right?
Very
and then
popular IP.
They get steamrolled, and then everyone's just like, oh, okay, this is not for me. And then that's cool that game exists, and respect to people who play it, and maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah.
But whoa, like I just watched a 10-minute movie of myself getting beaten down,
getting bodied. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a very bad take is that people say, oh man, these tryhards press all these combinations of buttons and I can't really do anything. When is it my turn?
Yeah.
Those things happen.
Yeah. I think and I do want to add one of the things with Dragon Ball FighterZ is and this is something I've mentioned. I think I've mentioned this to the 2XKO team. But something that I noticed with like the way Street Fighter 6 approached accessibility and the way Dragon Ball FighterZ did is that in DBFZ they made it easy to do like combos that go into supers. You can just mash like attack buttons, right? And then it does a full combo and a super at the end.
At the end, if you have a meter, yes.
Yeah, and so you can be beating down somebody for a long time, making them watch their character get beaten down, and so, but then that's an offensive accessibility feature, right? So what that means is everybody can do that. So what ends up happening is everyone can do that to the other person, right? And but in Street Fighter 6, there are some things that are made easier offensively. Obviously, there's motion input leniency and all those kind of things we talked about, but defensively, they made a block button basically.
Pretty much. Parry is the block button of Street Fighter.
Parry is a block button in a way, but that's not quite a block button because when you let go, you're vulnerable, and you can also get thrown. It just takes a lot of health. But that's a defensive accessibility option that's great for people who don't know how to deal with left-right mix-ups at the moment, right? And high-low mix-ups, because it covers all those options.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the weakness is that you'll get thrown, which means that people still have to be able to block normally.
Yeah.
If you want to get good, but the people who are not, who are beginners, have something to work with, because left, right, high, low mix-ups, defending against that's a skill that takes a long time to get like really well.
Traditionally, even with older games that had block buttons, your block buttons still was vulnerable to throws.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's parry button or the block button concept is not new. It's definitely been there.
Yes.
It's just that it's an additional kind of optional defensive maneuver that you can do. At the same time, when I thought of this, and we did have a similar discussion before about where a lot of things are very offense focused, right? All these mechanics and ideas, and blocking, it seemed a little lackluster in comparison in terms of mechanics go in fighting games. Of course, when people were like, if blocking is not enough, some games have bursts, some games have breaks, combo breaks, and things like that, which is fine too. Which is very like it's a creative idea. But if I look at it from a distance, it also can kind of go into the realm of how else do you want it to be from what it is now? Because if you think about it, blocking is technically 0 frame when you're holding back in a hold back to block game, right? It's technically immediate, right? There's no startup in blocking, right? So if you were to put it into a frame data conversation, blocking is superior to every offensive thing there is. Because attacks have startup, right? Yes, sometimes it's like 0 frames, like say Raging Demon or like
Fox's Shine is like 1 frame or whatever. It's rare cases where attacks are.
And I mean, Raging Demon is a grab, so you can jump out of it maybe not when you're point blank though. But blocking has always traditionally been, even if it's accidental, being 0 to 1 frames of startup. It allows you to be blocking whenever you wanted to, like as long as you're not getting hit at the time, right?
You have to put the input in.
So if you think about it that way, it's like, how else do you want us to improve blocking from a immediate startup mechanic, right? So there are things to think about, I guess, from there is it still does, like fighting games, no matter how lenient it is, no matter how modernized it will become for the attacking or the offensive side of things, fighting games still requires skill to play, even if it's watered down, even if it's dumbed down. So you cannot just judge the game's difficulty level by just something that people are spamming easily. Because if you want to go into a topic of spamming, blocking is technically spamming because you're always
people will say like, oh, you're spamming
blocking.
block.
Yeah. Well, I guess spamming block is true in a block button game because you can
keep on pressing
spamming,
it,
right? Or like for those who don't know how holding the button works, I guess it's technically spamming. But it's like,
well, they
have could be it could be a very like you're asking for too much if you're asking developers to, you gotta improve defense on this game when the defense is already 1 frame startup.
Well, the blocking is very good. If you can, if you can do the left, right, high, low kind of stuff.
If you do it, which requires skill.
Requires skill, right? So that's always going to require skill. But see, we've seen games that remove high, low.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So now that involves less like things to worry about when you're blocking. You block left and right. And of course, there's the block button, which gets rid of the left-right mix-up, but the high-low is still available. Yeah, so
so that's why. Oh, sorry. So that's why if I guess, to the, I wouldn't say the word challenge, right? Because I guess developers don't necessarily challenge your community to say, all right, well, fine, we'll do it your way. We're gonna do whatever you like, right? Like obviously they're not gonna do that because I guess in a professional sense they are developers who work on these products who have some sort of monetary value to have customers, right? A consumer base who purchase your games, right? Imagine if Street Fighter or the more mainstream fighting game has the smash block button, and so they narrowed down the defensive aspect to just throw or not throw. I wonder how long it'll take for that to happen.
Well, so I think for that to happen, the games would have to be completely different. So like if you look at Smash, the skill comes from other things in Smash, right? So for example, like there's no ledge guarding in Street Fighter. Right.
You don't have to worry about falling off.
You don't have to worry about like you can kill yourself in Smash, right? There's like other things to worry about. But they designed the game completely differently. Now, if you took a Street Fighter style game and then you had shielding, you might ruin the game, right?
Exactly.
It wouldn't work in that game. So I think these kind of things, like at one point you just have to accept that this is this kind of game, and either we're going to make a game like this or we're going to do something very new, right? And if you try to kind of like, we've seen this in the Every Fighting Game Type Explained video, where they're having games where they try to kind of like Air Guys. I know a lot of people, like that game, and at competitive levels, it's a very sophisticated game, right? But that's not the issue with that game. That game is it's they've kind of created this new game, but then they've held on to a lot of the traditional fighting game mechanical stuff, which made it kind of like I don't even remember the blocking scheme, like how it works. Like that, there's like high-low stuff.
Yeah, something that you have to stand still, or it changes when you start moving.
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that
A little stand
complicated
still,
stuff.
like
Yeah.
blocking high. That's kind of like from Tekken.
Yeah.
And like you can get into this weird. You can make a game like that, and it doesn't necessarily mean it'll be a bad game, but now people are gonna play that game with the reference of like other games, and they're not gonna be able to take that out of their mind. Like, oh, this is kind of like, okay, I'm kind of like playing half Tekken, half Power Stone here, but then if the formula is a hit, you combine the right things together, then you make something totally new that's like fresh, and so it's I don't know, like combining traditional fighting game stuff with with other elements, I think needs to be taken kind of carefully. And with Dark Edge, that was the game that like it's like hold back to block. It's like, all right, well, let's take that seriously. Like we can go 360, and now there's hold up to block, which is that's technically back in this perspective. So
if you want a DP sideways, now it's no longer the forward, down, forward, forward. It's the what is it now? Up, diagonal into up again.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No, that
it'll be so weird.
Yeah, but regarding 2XKO, I think it's what they've done is they've stayed true to the 2D fighting game roots. Right? There's nothing unfamiliar there. It's just the combination of the stuff is the new, fresh thing, and obviously the IP and the graphics and stuff. But there's like this is I like your description of this as kind of the CVS2 of these type of games, because I think that's pretty accurate.
It can seem overwhelming in a nutshell, because even when I describe CVS2 a little bit, like it had like a roster of almost 50 characters.
Of course,
and then if I were to give them a nightmare of, all right, try to memorize that times 6 different groups, right? Then the numbers just keep on expanding, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that is to scare off the people who don't want to even try. But like when you actually get into the community of like CVS2, it's not like you have to memorize everything. You just have to know what you're doing. And then you develop your, I guess, strategy based on the different opponents you'll be facing.
Sure.
Because there'll be a lot of course, it can technically be, it can feel like infinite number of different possibilities they can do, because it's not just one character you're picking 3 characters in different groups that you maybe never familiar with. It can happen in 2XKO as well, but I maybe wanted to explain it in a way where everybody can be involved, right? If you're coming from only like the Street Fighter background, it still holds the like the 2D aspect of things, where you have to hold back to block, you can jump, you can crouch.
Yeah.
There are overheads, there are lows, there are differences between those.
Yeah.
And even if you didn't, let's say this is more of an obscure kind of audience. Let's say you like Street Fighter style of gameplay.
Yeah.
But you're fed up with whenever you're jumping, the opponent is always anti-airing you, and then you're upset. You're frustrated that you cannot jump as much, even though the game allows you to jump, right?
Yeah.
From those more obscure audiences, welcome to 2XKO. Now you can jump as long as you're empty jumping, you can block in the air.
Yeah.
So if you didn't like that about your 2D fighting game of whatever you were playing before, now you can actually jump to your heart's content.
Well, that's anime.
Yeah.
That's what Guilty Gear did. Yeah.
As long as you're empty jumping and you want to hope that you'll keep on continuing your defense in the air, then welcome to 2XKO. Let's say you're coming from Tekken, or you're fed up with people mixing you up in the wake up game, and in Tekken you always had the
nuanced
get
up
you had
option.
the roll, or
you
had the little the tippy toe kick. If you do down 4 or something, or the 3 on wake up, or 4 on wake up, or just roll sideways. 2XKO has wake up, 2XKO has tech roll. So you're not always gonna be bothered by being stuck in the wall kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have a get up attack, or like if it's your first time, if you want to choose a first 2D game, if you're a 3D fighting game player, 2XKO can be a place where you can transition some of your Tekken skills over and things like that.
Yeah.
So there are ways I think we can articulate to welcome these players to a newer game that's currently being developed. Not necessarily have to lay down all the numbers to say, oh, this game is going to be so hard.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a game for you if you've never played Marvel, right? That it can sound very overwhelming at first.
Yeah, so. I think that's the thing about these games in general is there's any legacy game or 고인물 game, right? Has it's scary because people have been playing this game for a long time, and I mean this is if you think about like 2XKO, it's not a legacy game in that 2XKO is actually its own thing, but then it comes from there's so many legacy concepts that are being brought into this game, and I do think like you have someone like take your Guilty Gear player pick, you can have I don't know like Leffen or something like
or like Jonathan Tenney,
or
Apology
Man. Those guys are geared to be like amazing at this game. Right?
Yeah.
And I guess like Jonathan Tenney, like I don't think he's working on this game at all.
He's still a player.
Yeah, maybe he's testing. I don't know, but he's somebody. Let's just assume he's someone who hasn't really touched this game. When it comes out, he's gonna be godlike at it very fast.
Right into it. Yeah.
Lord Knight as well.
Yeah, Lord Knight. Yeah. Diaphone. Many players who do have some anime fighting game background. They'll feel very welcome, I think.
Yeah, and then people will watch these players when this game comes out, and then they're gonna be like, "Wow, those guys are sick." But then, damn, I'm never gonna be able to do anything like that, right? And that's kind of the. Whereas when a game is completely new, no one's ever played it. Like let's say, like in Korea, where like StarCraft was when that was new, and I know there's other RTS games, but like StarCraft was new for like a lot of people.
Yeah,
that was like their first RTS for most people in Korea that got into it, right? And at that time there was no like Flash, there was no Slayer's Boxer at the time. When the game's starting, everyone's just like. They feel like they can be good at the game, right? And so that's the benefit of having like a non-legacy game, right? But with fighting games, it's it's one of the older games. I think fighting games are before like RTS was a thing.
Yeah,
right?
Of course. Because I know the PC bang trend was after the arcade trend, right? Arcades were always there.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Street fighting games is definitely the
고인물 of the
grandfather of the 고인물 games, the Stillwater games. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm super excited for 2XKO though. I mean,
it'll be fun.
I'm not just wearing this because it's topical.
Right.
I'm excited about this this game, and I do want to grind it. And even the little that we played, even though it was not the best connection because we're going to the US server. It was I wanted to play more, and I wanted it to not time out in some of those matches.
And in terms of audiences that the game tries to capture, is this time they have more excuse than just people who played other fighting games because it is using the League of Legends IP.
Yeah,
there are potential audiences that other fighting games never had to even plan to get, which are the non-fighting game players who know. Who are familiar with the League of Legends franchise, right?
So, I think what's going to happen is like I think in the Riot launcher you can see they advertise other games and stuff. If you're just a Valorant player, you can see that there's other games, and this is like when those companies like Blizzard and Epic, they have their own
launchers for their
own launchers for their games. They can kind of advertise like the games that they want, and a company like Riot doesn't have a ton of games in general compared to other companies, so. People will see it and they'll be curious. And I think a lot of people will try it. And this is kind of one thing that I hope that 2XKO guys can try to prevent from happening is when they do release the game and it's out, there is going to be an initial rush of players that notice, oh, new game, new game on the Riot launcher. It's free. Oh, it's got League of Legends IP.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, let's do this. Let's play, right?
Yeah.
and they go in and yeah, they're like, okay, cool, I can learn this and learn this and learn this. They go online, they see people doing like crazy setups and stuff.
Infinites. I'm sure there'll be infinites who people discover which we have patched out, but infinites happen.
Yeah, there might be.
People found infinites in City of the Wolves.
Dude, Tekken now.
Tekken has
Tekken
infinites.
8. So that's
infinites.
Infinites in Tekken. That was like Tekken 4 days, right?
Yeah.
That's like so like there's an in Tekken 8 season 2 right now, which it's been getting kind of blasted a bit, but on top of to add fuel to fire, I think Chanel found an infinite.
I think I saw the Twitter post.
With I think it was with Leo, and it does very little damage, so that it's like it's a very long infinite. Like you do it forever, and yeah, that game has no combo breaker or anything.
Yeah.
And so people will break the games. Like 2XKO will be, but 2XKO has burst feature break.
Yeah, you can break out of it, I guess.
Yeah. So
but is it worth it? Who knows?
I don't know. It's hard. You have to really
see. The thing about the relationship between fighting games and infinites is like your worst nightmare, but at the same time, it's like a necessary evil.
Well,
like you need the infinites to be discovered so that it can be prevented.
Yeah. That's right. That's like the
if you're in the development point of
the best play test you can possibly have is when the game's out in the wild and people are trying it, right?
Yeah.
So like if you or I guess you can have top players who are good at breaking games. Like,
which is happening to TSQ right now, which is why there's like guys like Marlon Pai and Apology Man and Nerd Josh.
They
and
need
all
to
those
break
guys.
the game before it gets
Clockwork.
broken.
All these top players are breaking the game right now so that it doesn't happen in the retail. But then, even the modern games, people find them.
Yeah.
Did Street Fighter even had? I remember Street Fighter having infinites as well. So so it happens to mainstream games too. So
but yeah, I mean, like if you've never played these games, someone does an infinite on you. Like I can see that really just people being
it's like, oh, I can't play
right
now. It's like
and even with the combo breakers, they have break in the game. Like, well, once you use your break, You
reckon combo breakers are invented because some developer got so mad that their opponent infinited them?
Dude,
like things get invented because people have bad experiences.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think combo breakers got invented. I don't know why, the exact reason, but it was Killer Instinct, right? That's why it's called combo breaker. They're the ones who coined it, right?
I think I'm not too far off from the truth because even Ed Boon described it as if you get dizzied, it feels bad, right?
Yeah,
and that kind of encases the fact that if you get dizzy, that means you got hit a lot, and getting hit a lot technically can involve things like infinites.
Yeah, well,
if they feel bad. All right, I'm gonna move this feeling bad thing / good thing at the end of the round so that it's like, oh, I don't have to deal with this anymore. And
Well, I mean, there's definitely evidence of that for the stun thing being a fatality because Ed Boon said
he said it
in an interview. But I don't want to attribute everything to Dev Salt. It's not. I think the Killer Instinct combo
Salt
breaker
is the actual source of new fighting game mechanics. Who knows?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is, but like it can go both ways, right? Mm-hmm. You can either get good and solve it, or you can change the rules of the game. That's the innovation versus Honer, the
mindset,
concept, right?
Yes.
But
or get good at game developing and make your own.
Yeah, yeah. But I think in the Killer Instinct's case, it was. I'll stick with my theory, which is that Killer Instinct, the combos got so long because they had 100-hit combos.
Yeah,
you got to have a combo breaker because that's basically like infinite.
Yeah, I think it can be taken as a friendly gesture of taking turns. Oh, you had your fun already. It's my turn now.
Yeah, well, this is the problem with like a lot of people don't. What they don't like about traditional fighting games is that you can get stuck in a combo for a long time. This in Tekken 8 right now, Season 2. This is what they're talking about. There's like the double tailspin now, so that you can extend the combo further, and the combos are getting really long. And
someone did make a comparison video of Tekken 6 and Tekken 8. In Tekken 6, you do your bread and butter. It ends in like 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to do your bread and butter in Tekken 8, it takes like 30 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a big difference.
Damn.
And then now you have to watch the cinematics, like all these flashing lights. It's like, launch, 3 or 4 hits, and then slow motion, and then relaunch, Spiral, that's technically a slow motion too.
Yeah.
Wall Splat, another slow motion. Oh, Heat Burst, slow motion again.
Yeah.
Rage Art, even slower motion. Cinematics everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's like games are definitely changing in a way where visuals are appealing more. I guess that's the direction they're heading.
I blame Tekken 7 slow motion. That one,
They started it, right?
It's pretty hype. When I first saw that, it was like awesome. And then like after a while, you realize that's changing the outcome of the final hit, and then you're like, oh, that's not
that
awesome.
That broke the game.
Yeah, I mean, competitive players, like if you're like just mashing, it's like just you don't care about that.
Yeah.
But, yeah. For competitive players, that's my entire trip over to Combo Breaker was ruined by this one slow motion moment. But yeah, so I think we've kind of covered the 2XKO on almost
in
each,
our experiences
aspect.
of Alpha Lab 2 at least.
Yeah, we went on a lot of
more
tangents.
to come.
Yeah, we went on a lot of tangents, but they're in relation to how we see 2XKO, because 2XKO is a game with a lot of legacy influence, right?
Yeah.
So we're very excited about it, and hopefully it'll come out sooner than later. I think I
End
feel
of
like
this year is what I'm looking at.
yeah, they're looking
I'm
at
guessing.
a base roster of 10 characters, so I think they can probably get there by this year, hopefully. But hopefully those won't be famous last words.
I do hope it develops until it covers every single League of Legends characters, which is more than 100.
Wow. Okay.
And we did make a joke about, how currently in like games like League of Legends or even like Dota, you can type in your character names because it'll be so hard to find sometimes
That's
with your
right.
mouse.
Yeah.
Imagine typing in your character name. Oh, where is Ryu? R-Y-U. It's like,
Yeah, you type R, there's like 30 characters.
Like, so many R characters, damn it. Oh. Okay, yeah.
All right,
I don't know
cool.
if that's gonna ever happen, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, it's going to start with a very base roster, a very small base roster, which I think is a good place to start. I know people are like, oh, this game should have blah, 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 but it's free to
free
play.
game.
Come on, man. Like, let the game breathe, right?
Yeah.
It's free.
When you play Final Fantasy, you started as one character. Did you complain?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah,
you shouldn't-
over time,
that's not something that you
yeah.
complain about.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's the internet,
Yeah.
right? So, all right. So, yeah, I think this is a good place to stop. And yeah, thanks for listening. We'll definitely talk more about 2XKO when there's more alphas or hopefully betas, and hopefully
many
actually
other
when the game
games
comes
to
out.
come. This year is another special year because a lot of new games are coming out. Some of the new games already came out.
Yeah, we got to talk
Fables
about
and-
Fatal Fury soon.
And
yeah, as well.
it's very rare to see a single year with multiple fighting game releases.
Yeah.
So this year does feel kind of special. So hopefully more to come from us.
All right. Well, it was good talking to you, Kevin, and good luck at Evo Japan. This is when
Hopefully
we're
this
recording
video
it.
does come out soon. If not, we might already
Might be after
Evo Japan.
You might
but
already be super salty, or maybe you won Evo Japan and we
Nobody
don't know
knows
yet.
the future.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like
I'm rooting for you.
So if our next episode, if I'm very like my voice is like deep and like very sad, you know why.
Okay. All right. Well,
All right.
I'm rooting for you. All right. See you later, guys.
Peace.